All right, so now we're going to get into the entrepreneur spotlight portion of the day. So today we have two awesome entrepreneurs. We have Aaron, who is the president and co-founder of LP Tutors, and then we also have Dr. Ofori. He is the owner of Satori Food Project. And so first they're going to tell us a little bit about their business. So can you guys give us a quick overview of your business and also what motivated you to start it?
Hi everyone, thanks for having me today. Patrick invited me over here and I was excited to share the opportunity to promote growth and confidence. LP Tutors is a private one-on-one in-home tutoring business. It was founded about 4 years ago. I founded it with another individual. She retired from the company about almost a year ago already. Holy cow. And so we started as, like I said, just a general partnership. I remember walking into her door. I was hired on by another tutoring company who didn't interview me, didn't do a background check on me, nothing. Just asked me, hey, do you want to be a tutor? And I was like, sure, why not? And as I met this one individual, she was like, you are the fourth tutor I've had to go through for my son. I'm like, wow, that stinks. And about a year later, that other tutoring company went under for obvious reasons. And she confronted me and was like, you are so good at what you do, we need to start a business. So here I am, 4 years later, rocking it out.
Hi everyone, how are you doing? All right, so with Satori Food Project, it's been a pretty long and interesting journey. When I first got out of school, I ended up having a chance to go to a biomedical conference in Ghana, West Africa. And there they had a person that was presenting from the public health service. And they were saying that there's generally always the Western medications that are used for malaria, and then people also have the traditional teas that are there as well. And their studies were finding out that the teas that people were using for malaria were actually increasing the performance of or the potency of the Western prescription medications. And so for her, she said that it would be best to not use both of these two at the same time because it could increase the toxicity and side effects and all these things. But then I got inspired because I started thinking about how we're always saying, oh, do supplements for this, do teas for that, do yoga for this, do prescription medications for that, and everybody's kind of in their same own camp and trying to say that they're better than the other. Is there a way that we could all work together? So I started using my background in pharmaceutical sciences to just try to develop foods that can work together with prescription medications. It took me a while, but we ended up coming up with some hot chocolate and some mocha lattes that can work to relieve stress and anxiety, and then also work well to reduce the side effects of some prescription medications for anxiety. And so with that, we built it, put together an operation, and we're now on Amazon, selling pretty well. And I have some here as well. I was just going to show it before we get started, where if anybody wants some, I can give you a cup. This is the mocha latte. And it's just been a very interesting ride. I've been through a couple of the startup accelerators around here, and BizStarts was very instrumental in helping me connect with the entrepreneurial community here. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys for talking about that. And then also, could you talk a little bit about how you approached operations when you first opened the business versus how you approach it today? What kind of mistakes did you make and what lessons did you learn from that?
I will tell you right now, you're going to find a lot of things that work and a lot of things that don't work. When you find things that work, try to build off of it. So with LP Tutors, I was the only tutor in the beginning. And as we decided to grow, obviously I was like, okay, well, we got to find more tutors. How do we find more tutors? And so I did a bunch of research, and that is one of the biggest things is research your competitors. Find out how they're doing things. Look at their websites, look at their operations, their verbiage especially. That says a lot about how you want to present your company to other individuals. And so with that process of hiring tutors, that has probably been one of my biggest struggles, is because tutoring is more of a part-time position. And you can't always guarantee individuals' hours because it's all based on demand. And so as I've researched a bunch of different companies, I found some different processes for hiring, such as like a phone interview. And then from there, we decide if we want to move forward with an in-person interview. And then from the in-person interview, we decide, okay, is this a good individual or not? So make sure that, especially when having people join your team, one of the best advice I ever got was hire slow and fire fast. So if you see that an individual is not performing or you're not getting good vibes, don't bother with them. And let's see. Yeah, I would say that was probably one of my biggest struggles, was growing the team.
Right, and I commend you for being able to grow a team. I've had to end up having to outsource a lot of things. I only have a couple of people that are on the core staff. Yeah, so I think when it comes to operations, just like you were saying, there's a lot of mistakes that happen. If I could go back, I think that the one thing I would do is that is what they were saying here, and then I think Mr. Williams said earlier when he was talking, was saying that you have to have your end goal in mind. When your business is at what we call your prime business, what does that look like? When you wake up every day, what are you doing every day? What are you responsible for? What are you accountable for? What do you actually do? And anything, you should only do things that, one, you want to do, and things that you're good at. Everything else, you need to find a way around. So it's like, and people will say things like you need to get up a learning curve or you just need to learn it. To some extent, you have to learn it in order to be able to recognize when someone's good at it so that you'll know how to hire. It could, because you'll know they're good at it or not. Operationally, I think that just from what I've seen, people can grow their businesses in a lot of different ways. I don't think there's any right way. The best thing I would say is that you have to look at what kind of lifestyle you want. We could take the barbershop, for instance, where if you want to be somebody who's like, yes, I'm going to open up one barbershop, but I ultimately want to have a franchise spread all over the country of my designs of barbershops, then your day should not be spent actually cutting hair, right? Your day should be spent trying to figure out, how do I build this franchise model? Who do I connect with? What kind of financing do I need? If you do want to open up a barbershop and you want to cut hair, bring your friends in, have fun every day, that's also a business model. And then that operation is going to work that certain way. So at the end, it really just depends on what you want out of your business. I don't think that either way is better than the other way, because it's all about what you want out of this. You came to this for personal reasons. Usually when I look for entrepreneurs, it's usually autonomy. They just want to run their own thing. They don't want to be bothered with people, or money. They just want to make a whole lot of money. So those two things are going to be two different operations, but make sure that you're going towards that goal, because if you're cutting hair in your own barbershop or you're thinking about being a franchisor, those two things aren't going to work together.
Awesome. Yeah, that was all really great pieces of advice. Also, how do you define quality when it comes to your products or services? Can you measure this, and how do you ensure consistency of quality in the products that you sell or services?
So one of my biggest things that I came up with was a slogan, because my company's name is LP Tutors. And when we were trying to figure out the name, we were like, we could go cheesy, we could call it, the best tutors, or just tutoring 101, anything along those lines. So my last name is Lindstrom. My partner's last name was Patel at the time. And so that's where we made it a little bit more personalized. So absolutely, as you are naming your company or as you go forward with your company, make sure that you add a lot of personalization into it, because those names are the ones that are going to stick out more. But my slogan is, we are the best tutors in town. And so with having that word best, I obviously define my quality as, we are high standard. If you want a good tutor, you need to go to LP Tutors, because we are the best. I always explain to my parents, as I mentioned, my hiring process is very strategic. I do the phone interview, the in-person interview, background checks. I make sure that whomever I hire, they are the best, and they go through a thorough training process. They shadow other sessions. They, as Patrick had mentioned, join an association. We are part of the National Tutoring Association. And so I provide all of my tutors with a membership to that. And that is very, I would say, it's not expensive, but it gives your tutors more of a sense of they're part of more than just a company. They're part of a team, they're part of an association. So definitely hold your standards high and know your worth, because the more that you promote yourself as a high quality business, that's what you're going to become.
Yeah, like you're saying, quality is absolutely something that's always top of mind. I always think about when we're talking about the goals of the business, they're going to be, everybody's seeing that triangle where it's like quality versus time versus is this something else, cost, right? And so you're always going to be fighting. You can make the best quality thing, but it might cost more and you might outprice your customer. You can be able to make something really fast, but then you might not be able to get the good cost out of it. The way I've approached it in my company is always, you're going to hear me say throughout these questions, is to look at the end point. And so I want to sell a lot of K-Cups, and I want to be a very big business. And so with that, I have to be able to say, what is the acceptable quality that I could have in order to produce K-Cups at this speed? So I can't go below that. But in terms of saying that we're making the best version that we possibly can, I would say we're not, but our version is far superior to what's already out on the market. So with that, there's also where you talk about with your competitors, where it's like your competitors, because you're in it and you're thinking about everything that you want to do, and you're obsessed with your product, your solution, your problem. Your competitors might be out there and they may be making crap product, but everything sells well. I'm thinking about, like, for me, like Swiss Miss doesn't taste good at all. It's out there, but they sell billions of Swiss Miss a year, right? So I could sit there and I could say, okay, I'm going to spend the next 3 years to build what I perceive as like 100% best product in the world, or I could say I just need to beat Swiss Miss. So when I look at something, I say there's that old proverb where there are two people. There's two people that are at a safari, and it's like somebody's putting on their tennis shoes, and they're saying, "Oh, you're never going to be able to outrun a lion." And he said, "I don't need to outrun a lion. I just need to outrun you." So that's the way I perceive that. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you guys. Also, have you been able to incorporate any technology into your business over time that helps bring down your costs or enables you to operate more efficiently? And any pieces of technology that might be relevant to any entrepreneur in general?
My first thought is a tutor software or website called LearnSpeed. And so after a tutor would have a session, they would be required to write a session report, and that goes into details about what happened during the session, what went well, what are the goals, any additional comments. But this was done through like a Word document with text boxes and bullet points, or sometimes Google Docs, and then the tutor would email it to me. I'd have to download it, reformat it half the time, turn it into a PDF, create a new email, and send that off to the parent. It would take me about 15 minutes to do 3 session reports. And constantly trying to track tutors' schedules and, texting them, hey, when do you tutor this person next? When do you tutor that person next? So I found that was taking a lot of my time. So I did a bunch of research, and there are a couple different tutoring platforms out there, but LearnSpeed I found was the best one. It was $500 for the initial setup. That included about 6 hours of training, personalization for your account. It was a pain in my butt to do those trainings because I had to sit down in front of a computer and learn everything. But oh my gosh, it is so worth it, because now the tutors, they all have their own login. They're able to access the calendar and schedule all of their sessions. Writing a session report for them takes about 3 minutes now, and it takes me about 3 seconds to send it. And so, that initial $500 in the beginning and 6 hours of training was so worth it, because I've saved so much time to be able to grow and promote my company. So absolutely, check out different suppliers, I guess, to see if there's any way that you can cut down your time and also your tutor's times or your employees' times to make everything work a little bit more efficiently. Obviously, there's also Facebook. I can't talk enough about that. One of the biggest things I learned about Facebook is, yes, you can have a group page, but in order to invite people to like that page, you have to be friends with them. So what I did is I went and I created a separate LP Tutor account, like an actual friend account. And then that way I can friend different parents in the community. I can also try to join different group discussions, like the moms of McHenry County. I can join that page and comment on all of their different, posts about, oh my gosh, my child is struggling, what do I do? And so as a separate account of being LP Tutors, I can log into that one and go in there and say, hey, you should come and check us out. And then, like I said, I can invite other people to like the LP Tutors page that I'm not personally friends with from my Facebook account. Because like I said, that is the only way you can invite people to like a page is if you're friends with them. So definitely try to create a different account for your business if you already have a Facebook page.
Thanks. I'm going to use some of that as well. That's some pretty good advice. Yeah. I would say the way technology has worked in our company has been in two major ways. One is project management, being able to communicate with a bunch of different people and all be on the same page. And one of the project management tools I like the best is Trello, where you just connect into it with your Gmail account. Everybody goes in, and then you have your different columns. I'm trying to think of the process it's called. But it's like a chart where you say this is complete, this is complete, this is almost complete, and just move things along that way. And then other than that is marketing, like you're saying, using technologies like Facebook, Amazon is a big one that we're on. And then what I would say for that is make sure that you pick, like exactly what you said, pick which one you want to become familiar with or an expert in, and then just stick with them. Because there's always going to be somebody trying to build a better mousetrap. So you just have to know which one is going to work for you.
Yeah, for sure. Those are really great resources. Another one that I would say, just kind of in general, it's kind of what you guys were talking about. I would look up a CRM for your business, which is customer relationship management. So it's like there's so many platforms of it, but it allows you to organize the leads that you have, or it allows you to organize really anything. You can set it up in any sort of way, and it really just helps you organize your business. So I definitely would look into a CRM. HubSpot is one I know specifically that is free, up to like 2,500 leads or whatever it is you're going to put in there. So it's a really great resource for service businesses, I think. HubSpot, yeah, HUBSPOT. It's a free one. What's that? MailChimp is another one you can use. MailChimp, 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 yeah. There's just lots of great pieces of technology now that let you kind of automate a lot of processes in your business, which is really helpful. And then also, what does good customer service mean to you? And can you tell us how you manage customer service, and how do you handle or deal with unhappy or dissatisfied customers?
Good customer service is, of course, making sure that the student is succeeding, because that makes a happy parent. So I go off my model a lot of happy tutors equal successful students equal happy parents. So I tell every single one of my tutors that they come first, and they know that I have their back, because without them, I wouldn't be able to continue to grow. And so I make sure that they have everything that they need in regards to their resources, again, that their schedule works out well. So as I'm hiring a tutor, one of the biggest things I tell them is my dedication to them is, if they were on their way to a session or getting ready to leave and they called me there and they said, my babysitter just canceled on me, how am I supposed to get to my session? I'd say, what's your address? I'll be there in 15 minutes. So that way they know my dedication to them. I just ordered them all personalized sweatshirts since it's getting cold out. So the fact that they know that I'm trying my best to take care of them keeps our quality very high. As far as if I ever had an unhappy parent that's unhappy with a tutor, I would first try to figure out, all right, where is this miscommunication coming from? Obviously, there's a misunderstanding somewhere. And of course, I always tell my parents in the beginning, we are not a quick fix. It's not after 4 hours of tutoring your child is going to be a genius. So I always make sure that parents understand their, our expectations, and also that we need to have them on the same page. So again, communication is key when it comes to good customer service, is keeping a good relationship and making sure that your families that you tutor know and your tutors that also work for you know that you are doing everything you can to, most importantly, share your passion of growing children's education. And as long as parents can understand that, we are trying our best, then that's where I work even harder, because then I know that we're working together as a team. If I've ever had a parent, like I said, be upset with a tutor and I've tried everything, then I just start a process of a tutor transition. So always make sure that given any dilemma, you kind of have a backup plan for it. So map out every situation that could go wrong and imagine how you would handle it. So that way you're prepared in regards to if it does ever happen, and hopefully it doesn't, but always have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D.
That's great, good advice. For us, we have, I guess, more of a product, so it's like there's a little bit of a distance between the company and the consumer or customer. So with that, what I mainly do is, just from the couple of years I've been selling this, we've been selling since 2016, the one piece of advice I could give is to respond fast. People say that in every blog that you read talks about it, but it is true. Like, most of the time what I would do is I would read something and somebody's complaining about something, so put it down, go do something else to relax and then be able to come back so I can respond in a positive way. But for some people, 1 hour is not a big deal before getting a response. For other people, like, they're sitting there waiting at their phone for the company to respond to them, and they get mad and then they get loud online. So, and then you can't erase that. So you don't know who you're dealing with whenever somebody is saying something to you. So I just, after a couple of, I would say 2 experiences that way, I've learned that if I see something, if somebody's saying something, sit there and figure it out. Just stop everything and figure it out, because you don't know who that person is. So that's in terms of responding to someone who doesn't like what you're doing. Other ways, I always think about, someone told me there's a term, surprise and delight. So anytime you're thinking about customer service, how can I surprise them with something that a competitor is not doing? And how can I delight them with my service? And the way to do that, in my opinion, is to actually be a customer of your competitor. So with me, I will go through the process of buying one of my competitor's products, and then to see what they do. Do they send me an email a couple of days later? What does it look like? Do they offer me a coupon? All these things. And some things you can find annoying, where you say, I'm not going to do that with mine. And other things you'll say, that's a pretty good idea. But instead of it being 5 emails, maybe we bring it down to 1. So things like that are the way that I think that customer service can be addressed.
Just going off that really quick, I thought of a story. I one time had a parent that was very upset because she said that her tutor was 5 minutes late to every session. And I talked to the tutor very thoroughly about this, like, you have to be on time. If you're planning for an hour session and your session is scheduled to start at 3, but you get there at 3:05, are you at least going till 4:05? Make up for that hour. And she had said yes. But again, this parent was very persistent on, she's been 5 minutes late, she's been 7 minutes late, she was 3 minutes late today. It's like, okay, I can't control traffic sometimes, because again, our tutors, they travel to the individual's home. And so after the parent continued to express her unhappiness, I was finally like, okay, I will compliment you 1 free hour to make up for all of those minutes that tutor has missed. And she never complained again. So sometimes just finding that quick solution And like you said, responding fast is huge to individuals that may be expressing unhappy, service or product.
Awesome. Those are really great pieces of advice. That reminds me of like being a consumer like ourselves and what we would expect from like the companies that we buy from. It's like, implementing those practices in your own company. A question I have for you guys was, how has your business changed during COVID-19, and have you had more success? Have you had more hardships, or has your business pivoted? And can you talk a little bit about any changes you've experienced?
I am so thankful that during the pandemic crisis that my business was able to thrive. Because as schools shut down, individuals needed extra help for the e-learning or remote learning. They reached out for tutors. We did have, so in the very, very beginning, around like March and April, I didn't really have any new inquiries for families looking for tutors. It was more that my current families wanted to up how many times their tutor came to help their student. And then I had maybe one or two families that wanted to pause for a while, and so with my packages of hours that individuals can purchase, I have a disclaimer that says that if your sessions are not scheduled within a 30-day period, they expire, because I need parents to know that this is a committed service, and like I said, my tutors are not on call. When we gain a new family, we try to find a consistent schedule, like every Tuesdays at 4 o'clock. And of course, tutors and parents, they receive each other's contact information to be able to make changes as necessary. But so something I did was I waived that disclaimer for a few families if they wanted to quarantine or take a break. And then also we were able to utilize some Zoom as well to supplement instead of doing the in-person tutoring. From there in the summer and the end of the school year, that's when I saw a big jump. Because parents were like, the way that the school year ended, we need to make sure that our child is staying on track and up to date for the beginning of the school year. I saw another jump about a week after school started, because parents are like, oh my gosh, this remote learning is crazy, I really need help. I even had some parents ask, like, can I have a tutor that comes from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock? And I'm like, you're not looking for a tutor, you're looking for like a nanny or something like that. So there was that kind of interesting aspect of parents were really in need of that extra help. When I did have those situations where they would ask for those long-term time frames, I would have to encourage them, like, why don't you check out care.com, or you can post something on Facebook as well. So I would, even though that I would explain to them that my service does not match their needs, I would try to assist them in finding something that did.
Yeah, I think that like what you did in terms of your experience has been great. That's one thing I've been seeing when I just kind of look around, because I just, when you're in business, when you're in entrepreneurship, you always kind of like look and say how, you walk into a shop and you're like, well, how do they make money? And you start to look and see how their operation works and everything. One thing I've noticed is that it really just depends on the entrepreneur. And so like I think about coffee shops, because I'm in coffee and stuff, and I've seen some coffee shops completely close down, where they're just like, because we can't have any people in our shop, we're not going to make it. We've got all these bills, X, Y, Z, we're done. And then I've seen other coffee shops very quickly, within 2 weeks, start offering curbside pickup, and they start offering different types of delivery using DoorDash, and they're thriving because the other ones have shut down. And so, to me, when it comes to COVID, what's happened is it actually impacted my business model dramatically. So when we first started out, we're always thinking of how do we do big sales? Like I said, we become like a really big company. So we could go and try to get like 1 million customers, or we could say, how do we get 100 people to buy 1 million products? And so what we wanted to do was we started looking at places where people use Keurig machines and where they buy them, who could buy a lot at a time. And it was businesses for their break rooms. And so with that, that, we were going to go in, talk to each one of the like Northwestern Mutuals, all the different people about putting this product in their break room to help relieve stress during the workday. And now, of course, we all know nobody's at work in terms of in the break room. So that complete part of how we plan to sell is gone. And then when we talk with businesses, they're not going to reopen until next year. They've already told people this is what it's going to be like for the rest of the year. So with that, we're just like, okay, we also have this online avenue where we can go on Amazon, start to launch, and then see what we can do about building business that way. That's actually worked very well. And with that, we've actually gotten a chance to learn a lot about our customer and be able to build up the business that way. So that's always been another arm that we wanted to do. What's been interesting is that because that corporate wellness part went away, we were saying, okay, people are still feeling stress and anxiety even more during these times. Who are they talking to? What's going on with that? So I've started calling up and talking with psychiatrists, some of the people who actually helped us build this product, and then more of their colleagues. And come to find out that with psychiatrists, they're booked. They're filled to the brim, booked out 6 months in terms of clients and patients that they have to manage anxiety during this time. And what's happened is that there's so much backlog that other states have been talking to psychiatrists from other states to say, hey, we'll license you here very quickly if you could just help our patients in Arizona or help our patients in Florida and everything like that. And so with telehealth and all the things that they're using now, they're able to take on way more patients than they could before. So now it's turned into, well, instead of us going towards businesses to have our product be expanded that way, we now go to the clinicians. And we're able to say, okay, if you have a patient that is struggling with some of the side effects of medication, or have a patient that they have anxiety that maybe is situational, not enough to put them on a prescription medication, they can try this first. And these are supplements that the psychiatrists already recommend. So I tell people I didn't go into the middle of the Amazon to come up with some new, mushroom that reduces anxiety. These are pretty common, vitamins. One of the key ones like magnesium. And so with that, anytime that the psychiatrist is going to recommend magnesium, as long as I stay top of mind with them, then we work better. And so that's actually been working pretty well too. So it's like we were talking about before, where it's like as the entrepreneur, some people are just like, well, how can I make money if I can't bring anybody to my shop? It's like, well, yeah, if you think like that, you're going to close down. You won't be the first person, the last person, or the 8th person to close down. But if you're able to say, I need to figure out how to make even bigger success during this time and overcome it, you'll do that too. So, and that's what I've seen. Sorry.
Awesome, thank you guys so much. We just wanted to open it up really quick if any of you guys have questions for them. Yeah, Pierre?
Hey, good morning. So I have a question for you. Did you go to the process of the FDA? Do you have to go to that?
Right.
Oh.
I'll repeat the question.
Yes.
So he asked the question about if I have to go through FDA approval for this. So with this supplements, the FDA regulates all of them. So if something's going wrong, I have to report it to them. We are going for FDA approval. So that's one of the main reasons I keep contact with the psychiatrists, because we need a board of clinical advisors in order to actually recruit patients for the trials. So that's another thing that's happened during COVID, is that because I've been talking with more and more psychiatrists, it's like, well, maybe we should start writing for these grants to fund the trials. And so that's another part that's really been building up that way. Yeah. Does that answer your question at all?
Yeah, the next one is the next one is, do you do a money back guarantee? Because the customer is not happy with the product, and you're like,
Yeah. Always have a money back guarantee.
Yeah, I just in blanket, just always have money. It just makes people feel safer about buying products. And trust me, if somebody wants their money back, just give it back to them. Like that, whatever amount of money, if it's $5, $15, $100 that you get, it's just not worth having somebody out there in the streets, slamming your business. So it's always have that money back guarantee. Yeah.
Anyone else? Here we go. I'll come back here.
I have a question for you, the tutor company, because I know with this virtual, I call it at-home learning, it's a lot of pressure for the parents, the teachers, and the students. You have tutors, though. My question is, are your tutors employees or independent contractors? And what made that decision for you? And then the second question would be, as it relates to COVID, since you are going into the individuals' houses, what protocols do you take with respect to protecting both the tutor and the families, but also as far as pay with CARES Act and Family First and all of those things in the event one of your tutors can't make it and they are an employee?
So we decided to hire on all of our tutors as employees. That was a big decision, is do we do the contractors or the employees? The thing is with the employees is that it is a little bit more appealing to potential tutors because we take care of their taxes for them. And then also, as an employee, we own more of what they do. So as a contractor, they don't have any commitment to us. And so as an employee, I can, like I said, give them more resources and call them an actual, more LP tutor. As I mentioned, I worked for a previous tutoring company, and he hired on as contractors. And so with that, I was not committed to him whatsoever. At one point, a different family that I was tutoring for when I was contracted through his tutoring business, they came to me and said, we looked over his information and there's nothing stating that we can't offer to just pay you under the table instead. Do you want to do that? And yeah, it's more money. Sure. And so again, by having an employee, you're able to, like I said, really gain more of their commitment. So all of my employees, they do sign a hold harmless agreement, a waiver stating that they understand that they cannot go to a family and do the same thing. Say, hey, do you want to just pay me under the table instead? So by having them as employees, like I said, I gain more of their commitment. And again, as I go off my model of happy tutors equal happy students equal happy parents, I have more of their dedication to want to work with me. As far as going into individuals' homes, as far as the different masks mandate, it simply states that you don't have to wear a mask if you are in someone else's home. So what I've been doing is I've been telling individuals that it is their preference. If a tutor wants to wear a mask, I'm completely fine with it. If they would like their student to wear a mask, they can ask the family, or I can ask the family. And I've had a few tutors request that their students wear masks, and the families have been completely fine with it. And then I have some families and some tutors where they don't mind. And so I've kind of given that to be their choice on how they want to go about that, because they are protected with professional liability insurance. Yes. So they are protected with professional liability insurance. And for them being part-time employees instead of full-time employees, I obviously don't have insurance for them. So they do need to find their own means for insurance. But again, having that liability insurance gives them a lot of protection.
Probably one more here. Okay.
So my question goes to you. Have you ever considered doing tutoring abroad, because there's a huge demand now, China, the UAE, there's a huge demand online now for kids that would like to, get tutored. From America or whatever, it's English-speaking country. That's one of the questions. Or then the other one is, are you the one who prepared material that you give to your tutor? How do you make sure that the quality of material is good? So what's the process that you put into? And then the third one also it may be a personal dislike. You talk about the case of the person who was complaining about 3-5 minutes. Sometimes people don't just like people. I have a customer. In my case, I have a customer that didn't like one of my cleaning lady, was trying to find everything to complain about. Once I changed, everything was okay. And then the last one would be, you may be missing an opportunity with the long care thing. So because you may do like tutoring and also offer the long-term care for the kid. Are you ever considered to look into that? Because that would be a huge opportunity right here that you may be missing out.
So your question is more long-term tutoring?
So compared to material, how do you make sure that the material is good?
Mm-hmm.
The other one is, have you ever considered to expand your business abroad because it's a huge demand?
Yes. So I have thought about doing more of the virtual, but there is so much of that already out there that when having a business, you have to find a few things that make you stand out. So again, with mine, we are in home, and with everything being so remote, with a lot of children's learning, parents, they want to have the child receive some sort of in-person education. So I have thought about that. It would be a lot more beneficial or prosperous for older kids. It is very hard to keep the younger children entertained in front of a computer for about an hour. I'll admit I tried it once with one of my students during the beginning of the pandemic, and he was all over the place. He was going to third grade, he was walking around the room, and I'm like having to wave my hands like, hey, look at me, look what I have. Oh, you want to see my cat again? Here, let me go get it. All right, come back, let's read this book. It just becomes a game, and it wasn't fun for me. And so the in-person, I find a lot more success because you're able to bond more with that student. So like I said, it is something I've considered, but being in home is something that makes me stand out more. And also that I take a lot of time into making a match for a tutor and a student, so we guarantee the same tutor every time. I'd say that my match success rate is easily at 99%. That whenever I match a tutor with a student, because I look at every single area in regards to what is the student struggling in, like what subject, what grade are they in, where are they located, what are their interests. And so before I even match a tutor with a student, I meet with the student personally to learn more about that. And I have a template that I fill out so that way the tutor has good background on it. And also I go to the first session to do a proper introduction. So again, it's a very thorough process that works very well. And then you had mentioned the supplies. So this category was hard in the beginning because it was like, well, do we look at purchasing a curriculum? Or how do we know what's going to work for each student? Well, you don't, because every student learns differently. And in the beginning, I had a tutor freak out because she's like, you said 4th grade math, but I don't know. I don't know what to teach them. I need a curriculum. I need a guideline. And I was like, well, not every guideline works for every single student. If I were to go out and purchase all of the different curriculums, I'd be spending nearly $30,000 to $40,000. Where I can't just take a box off the shelf and say, 4th grade math, here you go, this will work. So we adapt more of our lesson plans, and that's one of the things I look at when hiring tutors is their creativity, their adaptability. A lot of parents, they want us just to work on homework. A lot of times they also just want us to reinforce other skills, such as he struggles in reading, he struggles in writing. So then there's a lot of great resources, obviously Pinterest, fun reading games. Children, they thrive off of games. My tutors and I know that we call my car the Mary Poppins car because I have tons of resources in my trunk, from games varying from ages to subjects. So we try to make learning more fun for the students so that they become more passionate about it. Does that answer your question? Well, and then also for other resources, all tutors, they receive like a whiteboard, expo markers, a pencil case, a binder filled with paper and folders. Different games, as I'd mentioned, are very successful for students. So again, we try to adapt more to what the students' interests and levels of concern are. So if it's multiplication, there's a ton of multiplication games out there. One of them I found was it's called Snap It Up. It's a card game, but it helps them really practice more of those multiplication skills. And again, it's keeping them more engaged. So, and I also tell my tutors if they find a resource that they want, they can send it to me and I can purchase it for them. The other day I had a tutor say that their student is struggling in this area, and so I went on Amazon, found some good stuff, had it sent to her house. I'm like, let me know if these work. So I'm always trying to provide them with different tools, and a lot of my tutors are going to be teachers, or they have been teachers, or they are teachers, so they have a lot of their own resources as well, and I've told them that I'm fine if they want to use those.
What's the success rate?
What was that?
What's the success rate?
I would say it's at about 98%. So we have parents and tutors that have been with us since we opened because they don't want to see what will happen if they stop tutoring. And then we have families where, again, they just like the extra help. But I would definitely say that we keep our students very, very engaged during their learning process, so that way they want to continue learning. And again, that's where I pride myself in. We're the best tutors in town.
All right, thank you guys so much both for coming today. We really appreciate your time.